Hello, welcome. Welcome to AppFollow Academy's 5-star reply strategy. This webinar is hosted by Veronica, and she is a member of the customer success team here at AppFollow. In today's session, she will cover the benefits and impact of replying to reviews, as well as share best practices to support your success and your strategy. We're going to just give people a few more minutes to get logged in and connected.
Thanks, Colleen. Thanks for the introduction. Hello, Esteban, Mark, Katie, those who already joined. Very nice to hear from you and see you in the chat. While we're waiting for everybody, we also wanted to get to know you a little better. So we wanted to ask you a very important question. You'll see the poll on your screen. And the question is, what's your favorite spot at home to work from?
We'll have polls throughout the webinar as well, and at the end too, to get some of your feedback. So let's see. I'm going to participate. Living room is a big one. Okay, makes sense. One for the attic. That's good. Cool.
No one in the terrace.
No, it's cold out, so.
If I had a terrace, I would work from it, but unfortunately, I don't.
Someday. Cool. Well, we're 3 minutes past, so we can go ahead and get started. And so we're actually going to kick it off with another poll relevant to our webinar today. Let me see. So we really want to know if you reply to polls at all, or reply to reviews at all. Let me publish this.
I can't help myself but to reply to that as well. I hope I won't ruin the statistics too much, but looks like everybody's replying. Most of the participants are replying to reviews.
That's great
to hear.
Cool. Great. I will go off mute and let you begin the next section.
Thanks a lot. So let's get this Academy session started. I hope everybody can see my screen and the slides on it. Let's kick it off with going through the agenda for today. So the main parts of our Academy session will be dedicated to, first of all, the benefits of replying to reviews. Why would you do this? What are the main advantages? Number 2, prioritizing the reviews. So how to select which reviews to cover in the first place if you don't have capacity to cover them all. Number 3, we will go over the elements of a 5-star reply, what we would encourage you to do, and what are the industry best practices, well, different industries' best practices when it comes to covering the reviews in the stores. And number 4, tracking your success, how to assess the metrics, how to assess the impact that replying to reviews can have on your business. Throughout the presentation, throughout the Academy session, please feel free to ask the questions in the chat. We'll be addressing them as we go after each section. And also, you will see the switches between the topics and some of more theoretical material to AppFollow. And we'll see some examples in the account of different replies and of actually functionalities that can help you find and prioritize the reviews. So without further ado, let's move on to the section number 1, why replying to reviews. So we divided this into two parts: the main benefits in general for your apps and for the business. First of all, valuable feedback from the customers. This is a great advantage for the companies, for the app developers. After a launch of a very recent application, or after every release, if you watch closely your reviews, you will gather a lot of feedback from your clients. It can be positive, it can sometimes be negative, it can be a lot of bug complaints, but it allows you to quickly see what people think of your application. It also allows you to quickly spot some errors, to gather suggestions on what to improve in your application, sometimes in your service as well. So this is a great and really immense source of feedback that you can work with, and that you don't even have to ask for proactively. Number two, another huge advantage is a better customer experience and higher engagement. So the clients you work with, the users of your application, when you engage with them, when you reply to them, they have a better customer experience. They feel heard. They know there is somebody out there who will consider their complaint, if it's a complaint, who will be reacting to their positive feedback, or who would take into consideration the feature suggestion. They know the reviews are at least read by somebody, and it gives a higher engagement. They know they can come back to you with more ideas or more complaints. Hopefully not, but it can also happen, and it can also allow you to do the last point, faster problem solving. So if there is a problem and your application does not work, that's a huge problem. People cannot log in. In a lot of applications, when you have an inbuilt support section, people won't even be able to talk to anybody in the support team. They won't even be able to send any kind of complaints through the application itself. The review section in the stores would help them let you know about that. Not a lot of people will Google the email of the company to contact you, but the reviews on the stores can allow you to quickly see, especially to quickly spot the complaints, to quickly spot the bugs. If they're in bulk, if they arrive in mass, that's even better for the faster problem solving, and react quickly. If you develop a solution, you can let users know immediately in the store, so they don't have to wait for investigation. They don't have to contact anybody else. It can be done immediately. These benefits in general for the business and for your application, they can be somehow quantified. They're not just nice points to have, but they can lead you to the following metrics improvement. The first one being the average review rating. When you have a rating in the store, you can have just a rating, just the amount of stars people use to rate your application, or it can be combined with a review. So average review rating, in a lot of cases, in most cases, I would say it's lower than the rating without any kind of review, because when people write a comment, they tend to write some negativity in it. They tend to share their opinion. They want to be heard. So that's why in a lot of cases, the average review rating is lower than the average app rating received for a certain period. However, if you engage with the clients, if you reply to their review, they can consider your reply and update the review rating after that. So if you actively do that, if you cover a lot of reviews and you provide some kind of solution or a meaningful response to your clients, they can update the review rating, and it will increase the average review rating afterwards. This is a very important metric to track and to consider when replying to reviews. Customer satisfaction score also, it shows you just how many clients and what portion of clients actually updated the reviews after your replies. Then the reply share, it's something that is very easy to quantify, and it's also, we will see that in AppFollow. You can track it very easily. Usually the rule is the more you engage with the clients and the more you provide responses to them, being the topic negative reviews or feature suggestions, for example, the more feedback you receive and the more positive also feedback you receive, including the star rating updates. And the final one, share of deleted offensive reviews. So in AppFollow and also directly from the stores and the consoles, you can report offensive material, you can report spam, off-topic reviews, and you can also track just how many offensive or off-topic spam reviews were deleted. This is done to clear the karma of the application, let's say, because nobody likes to read offensive reviews when they open the store. Not the users, not the developers, but also it can impact your average review rating positively, because usually those offensive reviews and spam reviews, they have very low star rating. So if they are deleted by the stores after a report, it will also allow you to improve your rating. I hope these benefits are clear for you and you can see some positive impact that maybe you are already having, because a lot of people have responded, they replied to reviews. Now we want to move to the part where to start. Before we move to that part, we wanted to ask you what replies do you, what reviews do you reply to? What do you prioritize? And you'll see that question in the poll as well. And again, it looks like there are quite amazing statistics with all of them. This is great. This is really great to see. It means the capacity is there, and also the interest is there. Negative reviews is quite popular, and also this is something we will focus on in the next section. Featured reviews, reply in the chat. This is great. This is something we're going to cover. So we kind of have a teaser of our next session in your replies, next section in your replies. So I think we can gradually move on to the section where to start. There we go. Creating reply strategy is a must when you decide to engage and when you decide to cover your reviews. First of all, starting one day with replying randomly to reviews is definitely not going to be a workable strategy. You will start by setting clear and simple goals, and of course you'll need to be realistic. Here we have a couple of examples of a great goal, of a goal not so great. The first one, as you can tell by the little red cross, is probably not ideal. Covering all reviews for the past month in 3 days without prior reply strategy. This one is probably not realistic, not very simple. It is clear enough, but the two other factors are absent. Covering reviews for the past can be a good idea only if you've solved the problem. If you are starting now, if you are starting from scratch, it's best to just start with the replies from this week, with the replies from today, and cover from now on. It's usually, especially with a large amount of reviews for an application, there is no use in coming back to the past to react somehow to the review a user has sent you, especially if this is not a problem that you've already solved and you want to share some positive news. So that's why the first one is not ideal as a goal. The second one is much better. Reply to all 1-star reviews starting from this week. So we have a clear time frame to work on. We also have a prioritization of a specific type of reviews, and we also have an amount of reviews to cover. So all 1-star reviews, meaning 100% of the reviews with extremely low rating. So we want to cover all the negativity. Your goals can be, of course, different. It really depends on the state of your application, on the stage it is in, whether the application is working great, or if there are a lot of bugs, so people are complaining a lot. Are there a lot of monetization related reviews? Or maybe your app is has just been launched, so not a lot of people know about it, and you value every comment you have. You want to really create a community with your users. You want to foster the engagement. So in that case, of course, you will try to cover everything. So the goals will, of course, depend on those factors and the strategy as well. And here we have, in the point number 2, we have a clear distinction between 2 edge cases. Case number 1, recently launched application with 100 reviews per month. 100 is, of course, the number that can change, but it's 100 or even less. When your application has just been launched, maybe it is even a pre-version of it, let's say a demo version. You want to gather the feedback, and you want to let your clients know you actually use their feedback to improve their experience. It's best to cover everything. The positive, feature suggestions, the negative, absolutely every review, especially with low amounts of the feedback you receive. But if you already have a known applications with thousands of reviews weekly or monthly, it's quite hard to cover everything without automation. You have your support teams, definitely, or your social media teams who work with the reviews, but they also have some other channels for tickets. So it's not, again, it's not obvious to do that. And in those cases, we need to have strong prioritization skills. What they say on the resumes for support agents, you need to know how to prioritize. You also needed to work with your reviews, of course. Let's see the topics for prioritization and the main things we usually see being prioritized. We are going to take the example of a case where you have an application with a lot of reviews, so with higher amount of reviews on a regular basis. Somebody mentioned in the chat, I will probably not be scrolling, I think it was Dang, yes, I mentioned in the chat that you apply to featured reviews. So featured reviews, to reiterate and remind everybody, those are reviews that are pinned to the app card in the stores. Those are the reviews that your users or potential users will see right away when they decide to download the application and install it, not to download and not to install. So it has a high impact on the likelihood of people actually getting your application. It is very important to reply to them and to have meaningful replies to them, because not only the review itself matters, but of course the way that the developers treat their customers, it matters to a lot of people. Featured reviews are selected by the stores, by the algorithm. The stores don't directly disclose the reviews that get the more likes in Apple Store tend to be, they're more likely to get featured. But again, there is no 100% guarantee or official statement on what's going to be featured. And in Google Play, the reviews that are longer and also usually contain some meaningful feedback tend to be featured. So when replying to reviews, apart from the featured one, it's very important to pay attention to just reviews that are longer and reviews that also receive a lot of likes in the store. I think in a minute, we will see how to find the featured reviews in AppFollow, how to filter by them, how to just get access to them quickly. Before we do, let's take a look at points B and see. So you've replied to all of your featured reviews. If you have multiple languages that you support for your application, this will probably take some time. If you do support 2 or 3 languages, this is going to be very quick. Featured reviews are usually around 6, so it's not a huge number. They also don't get updated every day. This is section that is important to cover, but it's also quite fast to cover. Point number B, low star rating. This is definitely a huge portion of reviews if you have some bugs or if you have monetization in your application. And this is something developers need to take into account. Not only you want to know why your users are giving you low stars, but you also want to somehow influence their decision to give you a low star rating. Try to solve their problem, but also try to change their opinion, try to maybe ask them to upgrade the rating when it's available. We'll take a look at how to find the low star rating reviews in your application, and also which low star rating reviews to consider. Should it be all of them? Or again, if your application receives thousands of reviews on a regular basis, maybe even within low star rating, you can prioritize. Lower stars plus longer reviews can be a combination that we will see in a minute. And part number C, you can prioritize by the type of reviews. So you know your app better than anyone. Your support team definitely knows the most common bugs you have, the most recent problems you have, if you have any, and you can cover the ones that generate the most negativity. So we know that reviews are one channel for the feedback. If you have more, again, you may know what people are unhappy with, and you may already have some kind of solution to provide to those clients. So you can search very easily or filter by specific keywords and prioritize the bugs that you know about and that you want to be fixed. Advertising is a very important topic, and usually it occupies a huge portion in the reviews for the companies where and for the apps where the ads are used. And then feature requests is also something very important to address, because we will repeat it once again. You want the customers to feel heard, but you also want to improve your application. The more feature requests you take into account, the more feature requests you analyze and reply to, the better you know the sentiment of the clients. So let's take a look where in AppFollow you can see those sections and how you can actually prioritize them to reply to. I will change the screen. Before I do, I'll quickly look at the chat. Looks like everything's taken care of. Replying to reviews using review templates. We will actually go over the templates as well. Great. Switching the screens. Please give me a second to guide you to AppFollow.
As Veronica switches the screen, if questions come up, please put them in the question section, and we'll get through as many as we can at the end.
It looks like it's all loaded. Oh, great. Can you see my screen with replying to reviews? Yes, perfect. So now we know that we can start with featured reviews. First of all, where do you locate the tab? Where do you find that option in AppFollow? It is located under Engage, where you work with the reviews, where you can actually reply to them. And then in the Engage, you have a section called Reply to Reviews. The very first tab in the list is the tab that allows you to see different reviews you've received. It also allows you to select the application. So here we have selected Booking.com because they are very well aligned with our case for this webinar. They're a big company. The app is very well known, and they also receive a huge portion of reviews. So we want to take a sneak peek, take a look at how they reply, and also how we would reply if we worked at Booking.com. So we have chosen the application iOS. We have selected the time frame past month, just because we want to know the statistics a bit better and analyze what we can do, what amount of reviews they receive, and by which criteria we would prioritize. In that section, reply to reviews, in that top panel at AppFollow, we have different filtering options to use that allow us to prioritize things easily. We can combine them, but before we do, I wanted to also show you a presets of the filters. So we have the information about how many reviews you receive. It's around 3,000 reviews received for the past month. The average review rating, that is quite high. This is a good sign. People are quite happy with the Booking.com application for App Store. And then we have those pre-built views. These are very standard section or very standard types of reviews we would focus on in the first place. And what you can see here is featured reviews without reply. So we know that Booking.com probably replies to featured reviews, not to all of them. And we know now that they have 800 of featured reviews that are not covered. So we can click on that section, and AppFollow will show us all these reviews we will need to go through in the first place. Right now, as you can see, if we scroll down that list, it says the review is featured. The review is featured, and this one was even updated recently. We will know who left the review. We will see the user name here. We will see device information whenever it's available. We will see the country, the language, the date when it was posted, and we can reply to this review right away. If we scroll a bit more, you will notice that all these reviews, they are in different languages because they're in different stores. So we want to make sure that we select one language first. If we have different support agent, each support agent can cover the language they know. So this is when we would apply an additional filter. We would, for example, apply English to first cover the reply, the reviews in the English language. So right away, we can see there are not 800 reviews, but 500 and something. This is already less to cover for me. And then you will go over them and send them a reply. So you can locate featured reviews in the pre-built filter sets in the smart views, but you can also apply additional filters to further prioritize within the featured reviews, because it's hard to cover 800 in one go. So we need to break down this section further. Apart from featured reviews with no reply in a specific language that you can cover, and by the way, we have an option in AppFollow that allows you to translate the reviews. So you don't have to copy and paste anything, don't have to use Google Translate. If we just activate it, AppFollow will show you the review in the language you prefer. It can be English, or it can be a different language that your agents speak. Apart from the featured reviews, we also have here negative without replies. It's 1-2 star. It also shows you right away all the reviews that fall under that category. But as we mentioned, if you have a huge portion of reviews that are negative, you may even focus first on the 1-star reviews, on the 1-star rating. Here, it looks like it's a manageable amount. It's 100 reviews with 1-2 stars, so we can leave it like that. But then even within that 100, how do we decide what we should cover first? We can sort by the newest reviews to make sure we reply to them right away. And this increases the chances of people upgrading the ratings, or we can reply to the longest reviews first, because this is another criteria that allows you to find meaningful feedback. If people just leave a comment saying this is bad, it's hard for you to understand what's bad. So it will require starting a dialogue. If you choose long first, you will most likely have a full description of what went wrong, what people weren't happy with. You can analyze that and, of course, reply and react accordingly. So first we had featured reviews, now we have negative reviews, and then the last section that I mentioned in the prioritization options, reply by a specific topic. So let's say you have certain issues in your application and you already developed a solution. Say there's a problem with logins, something doesn't work. You can add one more filter in AppFollow, search, and you can use specific keywords that are most likely to be present in those reviews. We can use login option as an example, and let's see, do we have anything with login? Maybe booking had something, any reply to them. We do something related to login. It's actually a piece of advice. It's not a negative one, but this one is negative, and we can even see the developers prioritized it and replied to that already. So somebody complained about the mobile number change. We used this as a way to find such reviews, and Booking.com replied to those reviews, actually suggesting a solution for the client. So this is another way for you to prioritize. If you don't know, or if you don't have any known issues or anything fixed, or anything for which you have a solution, a suggestion, you can use things that are less specific, maybe not working, bug, issue, and then use it as a combination of keywords in AppFollow. You can see we are dividing these words by a specific sign, slash sign. It allows us to find the reviews that contain either this word, or bug or issue. So it doesn't have to be all in the same sentence. So we have something here about the issue. Here an issue is mentioned as well. The issue seems to be very, very popular because it is quite a generic way to describe any kind of problem. So it's up to you. If you already know what your app is having problems with, you can use these words as specifics, but if not, you can use something that would just say problem in different variations. This is where we will stop and switch back to the elements of a 5-star reply. And also, I will quickly go over the chat if there's any questions. Character limits. These are great questions. I think they will be better answered at the end. Yes. And about how far back would you go, we'll actually tackle that right now in the next section. Now we're going to our headliner, elements of a 5-star reply, and a few elements that we've identified and we thought would be a great recipe. We'll start with personalization. What do you need to do? Personalize your replies. Use user's nickname when you address to them in the stores. You can always see that information, and it gives the user the feel that your reply is not a generic or not automated. part of that personalization is also review device information and other available client information to suggest the best solution. So in AppFollow, and AppFollow takes information from the consoles. You do have information about client devices. You sometimes have information about their countries and the languages. So it's best to use that information. If it impacts your reply somehow, make sure you use it for your benefit to suggest the appropriate solution for the client. And if you do use templates, use template variations. The more variations you have of a specific type of reply, the better, because again, it allows you not to sound robotic. Number 2, reply in timely manner. So we've analyzed a lot of statistics from AppFollow. We've also gathered some data across industry reports that were shared by our colleagues, let's say, in that field. And users are most likely to increase their rating if they receive a reply in 24 hours. So the faster you reply, the better it is. Regarding how far back should you go to reply to the clients, it really depends on 2 factors. First, just how many reviews you have. If you have a low number of reviews and you can cover all of them, that's great. But if you do have a big portion, and covering it will mean spending support resources, hours and hours on that, it's best to start now. If you start from today, make sure you cover all the replies from today, all the replies from the recent release. If you have launched a new version of the app recently, something that can serve for you as a benchmark. If the latest release happened month ago, it's best to start from today. Try to cover everything you prioritized from today. There is an exception though, and that exception is the next point: address concerns. Users may have complained about many different things. Once again, if there are known bugs and known issues, known problems in your applications, and you finally fix them, find those complaints in AppFollow, find those complaints in the stores, get back to those users and reply to them to let them know you fixed this. You will see immediately how happy they are if they update the rating or if they update their review. It will give you not only a good feeling, but also a rating increase, which is great. So this is an example of when you can actually go back in the past for as long as needed, for as long as people complained about a specific topics, if you want to let them know it's been, there is a solution for it now. Next advice is redirect. Maybe quite obvious, but still it's not always possible to solve a problem right away. If you don't have a suggestion to somebody, if you don't have a way to resolve the problem, feel free to redirect your users to other support channels you have, emails, chats, community, especially because you have limited characters in the stores to reply to your review in Google Play. Namely, you have quite a small limit. You want to make sure you know all the details before you suggest a solution, or if you need additional investigation. So use those support channels that you have to continue the conversation. Last one, of course, it depends on your team capacity, but try to speak users' language. It's always best to reply in the same language in which the review was written. Once again, AppFollow allows you to quickly translate the review itself. And if you have capacity, if you have agents who speak different languages, that's perfect. They can reply to users. If not, you may create some templates, translate them to the most popular languages that your users speak, and use them in the conversation when it's appropriate. These elements are what we consider to be a good base for a recipe of a 5-star reply. Of course, applying them and putting them in practice will require some tweaks that are due to your industry, to your application stage, whether it was recently launched, whether it's a known app already. It also depends on how well it actually performs and how many complaints versus how many compliments or feature suggestions you receive. But those are things to always bear in mind when working with reviews. Once you have put these elements in practice, what do? You can't just be happy with starting something. You need to see the results to become even happier when you actually see some positive impact. And this is what leads us to the last part, called tracking your success. How do you see what changed? How do you see the impact? How do you see which metrics were modified? You can use one of the tools that AppFollow provides. It's called the dashboard. It's a very quick way to see the correlation, if any, for your app between your efforts to reply to reviews and between the actual changes in the rating, changes in the reply coverage. Let's take a look at that in AppFollow. By the way, I will allow myself to ask an extra question outside of the poll. Do you use any success tracking tools in AppFollow? Do you use any parts of the tool to actually track how you work with your reviews? Does it change anything? Does it impact it positively or not? While you are replying that hopefully you do, I'm really curious to know about that. I will switch to the monitor section. So the monitor section is where we get most insights from. Most analytics tools are here. And here, of course, we have that dashboard for ratings and reviews. I can see somebody's typing, so I'm waiting for that with a lot of interest.
Create a quick poll just so. Yes.
This is great, Manuela. One success metric for us is reply effect. This is perfect. That's great. And you can also see it on the dashboard. This is something we'll see. Same. Do track your success and follow. Yes, 75% are tracking. That's great to know. All right. Without any further distraction from my side, let us switch to the dashboard. So a quick look and you understand it all. Once again, we have selected our application Booking.com for App Store. We have selected the time frame, the past month. We can see the ratings that people are giving. We can see the review rating. And this is quite an exceptional situation because the review rating is actually higher than the general rating. It means users are quite happy. There are most likely a lot of positive comments here. This is always great to see. What we want to consider and what we want to analyze is that review dashboard, review graph. You can see three main parameters here: reviews received, reviews replied, and average review rating. So reviews received is this light blue area. You can see it's pretty stable, but there are always peak changes in the amount of reviews received throughout the month. The number stays quite stable, but there are, of course, some peak days. We can dive deeper and analyze what happened exactly on that day. If we go back to the engage part and just filter by, that date will analyze if there is any logic in it, what provoked it. But here we are mainly interested in the correlation between the amount of reviews you covered and the amount of reviews you received. As we can see here, that developer does not cover a lot of reviews. It's a pretty small amount. You can see 9 reviews or 14 reviews for a given day. For this one, it's about 10%. It's not that bad, actually, for such a big application. And you can also see the third parameter if you scroll through that graph, average review rating. So we want to track and see if higher effort and a higher impact, if a higher effort on your side in engaging in reviews will lead to higher review rating, for example, or how many reviews do you cover. You can see that visually here on the graph, and you can also switch to the a part of the dashboard called reply stats. And this is where you'll actually see the parameters our webinar participants have mentioned, such as reply effect. But first, let's see reviews replied. This is your coverage. 9%. You can see an unhappy and frustrated emoji is not enough. So this is why we are so surprised to see that number. And also, you can see how it changed compared to the past month. Featured reviews replied, also a very low amount. We want to definitely have this as a higher number. Updated reviews replied, so if users have changed their minds, changed their comments, if you cover that, you will also see here the number. And two parameters that we have, reply effect and no reply effect. This is actually the star rating of the reviews that were updated after you replied to them. So you can see the impact that 8 reviews actually changed the rating for a better one, and it was 0.6 in the star rating in general. This is showing you that reply strategy of Booking.com is actually quite good. It brings positive results. No reply effect here. It's also pretty decent. It's not negative, but probably because users are really happy with the product. General metrics are very good for this application in any case. So these metrics is something that allows you to quickly see if there's a correlation between how many reviews you replied, the rating, whether it changed or not, and also whether you had some positive impact or not. Very quick to see, and everything in one place. I think we are here at the end of the presentation. We are going now to respond and cover your questions. Before we do, we wanted to ask one more question in the poll.
One more poll
about
question.
The plans reviews.
Two, actually. So there's 2 poll questions that were just submitted. And then we'll move to questions. And whatever questions we don't get through today, we'll send out in our follow-up email.
Thanks a lot for sharing. Again, I upvoted the webinar myself, and I definitely want to build a strategy. Please consider me in those sections.
I think we're aligned.
So while we are counting the votes, let me go back to the questions, and we have the upvotes for the questions. Let me see. Thank you very much, Nicole, and thank you very much, Manuela. So let me, if that's all right, we'll start addressing the questions from the chat. The first one was from Katie Williams. What are overall thoughts on adding links to review replies, considering they're not clickable? This is a great question. I wish there was one direct recipe for that, and the answer, there is none. We've been tracking for several clients together with several clients, the reply effect, whether people are negatively reacting to such replies because they can't click, so they have to copy and paste or retype everything, or there's no reaction, or if there's a positive reaction, there hasn't been a clear trend on that. So you definitely don't want to make your users type things manually, but if there's no other way, you can do that. If you have a way of showing how to get to support without providing a link, maybe you have a instruction saying click manage app, select contact support. That definitely, at least it looks better in the store. But in terms of any other alternative, if you don't have it, if it's just a link or just an email, I guess there is no other way. But in terms of just the metrics and how it impacts the metrics, we haven't seen a trend that would definitely say never use it or always use it. Question from Nicole: how do you ask a customer to submit help in a different channel, like a help desk? Oftentimes we need account-specific info that we would not want to share publicly. So having a path to that channel and just providing a path to that channel would be ideal. Definitely, we don't want to ask the users in the store to share their personal details, emails. Just if you have a way to contact you, being it an email or just a direction where they can go and there share the information privately, that would probably be the best way. One more from Katie: Google Play Android reviews, how do you make the most out of your reply with character limitation? I would say it's, again, not obvious at all, but it really depends on the topic. If you have, if you are addressing an issue you know about, just use the most information you have, use the best suggestion that you have, a way to resolve it, if it exists already. If it doesn't, try to personalize your short redirection to a different channel. So if you don't have a solution for the client just yet, make sure you're nice, make sure you personalize the quick and the short template that would redirect them to a different channel where you can discuss it further. Featured reviews, how frequently these are updated. And that's another mystery of the algorithms of the stores. They really never disclose it. You will see it in AppFollow. You will see it in the consoles for your application. Some reviews are updated on a 2-monthly basis. Some reviews stay featured for half a year or even for a year. Unfortunately, or fortunately, nobody knows. We're launching, a question from Mark, we're launching our newest game, but it is still in beta. We will be adding features, bug fixes in updated version pretty often. Should the focus be only on the current version, or is it best to reply to reviews for previous versions as well? I would use the same argument I used before. It really depends on how many reviews you receive. If you do have capacity to reply to the previous versions as well, that would be great, because whenever the app is in the beta stage, it's important for the users to understand you will be there for them. You are actively modifying your app. You're actively not only working on the product, but working on the engagement with your user base and future user base. So it's best to cover previous versions as well, as long as your support team capacity allows that. And especially if you have new versions, very often you'll definitely make some improvements and fixes, and you want the users of the previous versions to know about them. We have 5 minutes and we have 3 questions. Let's see if we can make it. Question from Adrian: is there a way to automate my responses based on specific words? Absolutely. This is actually a topic for one of the upcoming Academy sessions. Not the next one. The next one will be on Google Play data and metrics that you can get from it. And also we'll have an upcoming webinar related to onboarding fundamentals, but it's absolutely possible. In AppFollow, you have automation tools. I think it's best, maybe Colleen would confirm if we have the emails of the participants. We can send some links to our automation resources. You can, if we put it in 2 words, build automations on almost any criteria of the review. It can be keywords, it can be ratings, it can be language as well, featured, not featured. You can use all these parameters to actually build an automation.
We can send out follow-up information regarding automation, but to Veronica's point, there's a separate webinar that we planned after the new year on that topic. So,
a question from Nicole: if we don't support other languages besides our native ones, it's poor strategy to respond to feature reviews in English. It's best to respond to feature reviews than not to respond. So it is not a poor strategy. Of course, the clients are usually happier when you speak their languages and they'll feel more care and so on. But it's definitely best to react and to respond in the language you know, and in the language that you don't use poor Google Translate for. So if you have some meaningful information to share with them, or if you want to let them know you've acknowledged their feedback, you can reply in the language you have capacity for. The last one in 2 minutes. We're doing great. Tan Oliveira: how far back? Yes. So this one, how far back would you go to reply to reviews that have never been answered before? Once again, depends on how many reviews you have. It won't make sense to go back to several months or several years if it's not to inform the user that you have fixed something or solved the problem. So if you want to share some positive news with them, go back to the past, find those unhappy customers, turn them into happy ones. If not, then you can probably start covering from today.
And just like a follow-up point, if you want to speak to if how far back you want to go to reply to reviews regarding feature reviews, and what's your feedback on that, Veronica? If it's a feature review, how far back would you go?
If it's a featured review, it's best to cover everything because they are pinned to the app card and they stay there for a very long time. And to the previous question, for the time frame that is unknown for us, so it's best to cover them all if possible.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining our session today. We had great questions and a great turnout. Be on the lookout for upcoming sessions through AppFollow Academy. Specifically, next week we have an onboarding fundamental session on the 21st, and it's at 5:30 CET. And so I'd be really interested to have and welcoming to have more people join that session as well as our future upcoming sessions too. Yeah, thank you again for everybody for joining.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.